Tara first heard of Michael's imprisonment not through the news, but through a message on her church WhatsApp group. A member had posted the link with a prayer emoji. "May God help our brother." At first, she refused to open it. The name alone made her stomach tighten. But curiosity, that old painful ghost, won. She clicked the link. There he was on the screen, her former husband handcuffed, surrounded by EFCC officers, shouting Bible verses. His face looked older, but the arrogance was still there. He was still performing, even in disgrace. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from an unknown number. "Tara, it's been long. You've seen the news, I'm sure. You can't pretend you don't care. You're still my wife." The words made her chest constrict. She didn't reply. But that night, long after the children were asleep, she sat in the dark and stared at the message again. She remembered the man who once held her hand during morning devotions, who prayed in tongues before every decision. She remembered how his voice changed, from gentle to sharp, from "my love" to "my mistake." She remembered the day she walked out with nothing but her Bible and her dignity. She thought she had buried him, not physically, but emotionally. Yet here he was again, clawing his way back through digital veins. Michael adjusted quickly to prison life, at least on the surface. Within weeks, he'd become a minor celebrity in Kirikiri. He led morning prayers, preached to inmates, and told anyone who'd listen that he was a victim of spiritual warfare. His Bible became both shield and sword. He demanded respect from the wardens and special treatment from cellmates. "I'm not one of you," he'd say. "I'm a businessman who made enemies in high places." But beneath the swagger, his mind was cracking. Each sermon became angrier, each prayer more theatrical. He would fall on his knees, pounding the floor, screaming, "Father, expose my enemies," and then glance around to see who was watching. He saw the prison as a conspiracy, a system built to humiliate men of greatness. The food was sabotage, the wardens agents of envy. When power outages struck, he ranted that the federal government wanted him broken. "They think they can silence me," he told his cellmates, "but I'm still the voice of kingdom men. I'm still chosen." He wrote endless letters to journalists, politicians, old church members, blaming everyone but himself. He accused the EFCC of planting evidence, called the judge a godless puppet, and hinted at demonic manipulation. In every story he told, he was the victim, the misunderstood visionary. Everyone else was a traitor. Even God, he believed, had gone silent only to test his patience. Yet in all his rants, one name came up more than any other: Tara. "She started this," he would say, pacing his cell. "Her rebellion opened the door to destruction. If she had stayed, I'd still be flying private jets." The inmates learned quickly to stay silent. Meanwhile, Tara tried to live normally. She poured herself into work, church, and the children. But Lagos was a small world. Every so often she'd overhear whispers. "Now that woman way leave the pastor," someone would say. "See wettin' her husband become. Women suff. Even her pastor, a kind man with good intentions, urged her to visit. He's still the father of your children," he reminded her. "Maybe God wants to use you to soften his heart." Against her better judgment, she agreed. The first visit was surreal. The prison smelled of disinfectant and rust. When she saw him behind the glass partition, dressed in his faded khaki uniform, a rush of conflicting emotions hit her: pity, anger, and faint disbelief. He smiled the same rehearsed smile. "Tara," he said softly, I knew you'd come. God never lies. She said nothing. He leaned forward. You see how they treat me? Like a criminal. Me. A man who created jobs, paid tithes, helped the poor. The devil is busy, but I'll rise again. They can't kill destiny. She met his gaze steadily. Michael, you did this to yourself. His face darkened. You're still ungrateful. Even now, you talk like a woman possessed. Everything I did was for family, for you, for our children. Tara stood up. Then let it comfort you, she said quietly. Because no one else will. She turned and walked away as he shouted after her. You can't run forever. You're still my wife. In Lagos Kirikiri Prison, Michael's delusions deepened. He accused guards of stealing his food, claimed inmates were plotting against him, and even wrote a letter to the president complaining of religious persecution. He saw conspiracies everywhere. Then came Asari, a name whispered through the corridors like a warning, a hardened criminal, built like a wall, feared by both inmates and wardens alike. Asari ran the cell Michael was transferred into, and from the first night he made sure Michael knew his place. New man, Asari said, cracking his knuckles. No pastor, no boss here. Just survival. Michael tried to preach to him. Big mistake. The first punch landed like thunder. His Bible fell to the floor, pages torn. The cell roared with laughter. For days, Michael was made to wash Asari's clothes, scrub the floor, and share his food portions. Each night, he lay awake, rage fermenting like acid. He told himself, this is temporary. I'm still chosen. God will shame them all. But under the weight of humiliation, something shifted. Michael's prayers turned darker, not for redemption, but for revenge. One evening, while inmates smoked and whispered deals through the cell bars, Michael overheard a warden muttering about smuggled goods, cigarettes, contraband phones, even drugs. That was when an idea took root. He began to charm the wardens again, offering prayers, promises, and connections on the outside. Slowly, he secured a small package, unmarked, illegal. The transaction was silent, but the implication was loud. Within weeks, Michael was using that contraband, small wraps of weed, tablets, and spirits, to buy loyalty. He traded them for favors, respect, protection. Even Asari began to defer to him. Pastor don't sabi street, Asari said once, laughing. You fit survive anywhere. And for the first time, Michael felt powerful again. But it was a dark kind of power, the kind bought with poison and fear. He ruled his small corner with the same arrogance he had outside, making others kneel before him during prayer sessions he called deliverance hours. When the wardens cracked down on a cell raid, they found a small stash. Asari took the blame. Rumors said Michael paid him off with promises of help once released. By then, even the prison chaplain had grown wary. He preaches like Lucifer in a suit, one officer murmured. Too much pride for one man. Michael's ego ballooned again. In his mind, he was still God's chosen, unjustly punished. He'd pace the cell, whispering to himself. They mocked Joseph, too. But he ruled Egypt in the end. He wrote a book in prison, The Betrayed Prophet. Page after page filled with accusations and venom. He blamed the EFCC, the Nigerian judiciary, the media, his second wife, and fake Christians. Never once did he blame himself. His internal monologues became his refuge. They think I'm defeated, but I'm still a lion. I'll roar again. I'll build bigger, stronger. Tara will crawl back. The more he ranted, the fewer inmates attended his sermons. They grew tired of his endless blame. Even the wardens ignored him, except when he demanded extra privileges. Yet, deep inside, something fragile flickered. At night, when lights went out, he'd whisper Tara's name, not in love, but in bitterness. She was the ghost he couldn't exorcise. One rainy evening, an envelope arrived from her, his name written in neat, firm handwriting. He opened it slowly. "Michael, I forgive you, but forgiveness doesn't mean return. The children are safe, and so am I. May you find peace, not pride, before your time is up." He read it once, twice, 3 times. Then he tore it into pieces and threw it at the wall. "She's mocking me," he shouted. "This woman is mocking me." That night he refused to eat. He sat in his bunk, muttering to himself, "They all want to see me fall, but I'll show them. When I get out, I'll rebuild. I'll be greater. I'll make her crawl back." But God or fate had other plans. Weeks later, during a morning inspection, guards found him collapsed beside his bunk, his Bible open, his notebook scattered. He'd suffered a massive stroke. He survived, but the damage was deep. His speech slurred, his right hand paralyzed. He spent his days staring at the walls, unable to preach, unable to write. The arrogance that once filled his voice now only lived in his eyes. When the chaplain visited, he asked if Michael wanted prayer. The answer came slowly, with effort. "Pray for them," he said, his tongue heavy. "They don't know what they did." But the chaplain saw the flicker in his eyes, pride still alive, even in weakness. When the news reached Tara, she didn't weep. She only whispered, "Maybe this is mercy in disguise." She took the children to church that Sunday, and for the first time in years, she felt something close to peace. During worship, she raised her hands and whispered, "Thank you for silence, Lord. Sometimes it's louder than judgment." Outside, Lagos carried on, loud, restless, indifferent. And somewhere, behind the thick concrete walls of Kirikiri, a fallen man sat broken, bitter, and silent, his story still echoing, but his spirit unchanged.